Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. Today, as we discuss a crucial topic that affects all of us, and that's keeping our children safe. As members of this community, we share a responsibility to protect the most vulnerable among us. Firearm ownership is a significant responsibility, and with it comes the duty to ensure that firearms are stored safely, especially in homes where children are present. Each year, we hear tragic stories of children gaining access to unsecured firearms, and the heartbreaking truth is that these incidents are entirely preventable. Recently, Wichita police officers responded to two separate incidents where children under the age of 10 were able to access firearms because they were left unsecured. Unfortunately, these situations ended in tragedy. The safety of our children starts with the choices we make as gun owners. The Wichita Police Department is dedicated to providing free cable-style gun locks and trigger locks to our community. These locks are simple yet effective tools designed to keep firearms inaccessible to children. As your police chief, I want to emphasize our commitment to enhancing the safety and well-being of the children in Wichita. We are offering these gun locks to protect families from firearm-related violence. We encourage our community to collaborate in promoting firearm safety. Responsible gun ownership includes safe firearm storage. If there is a minor present or likely to be present in the home, firearms should be secured in a locked box, gun safe, or with a locking device. Always ensure that a gun is unloaded when stored, and keep ammunition in a separate location. Locking up firearms is straightforward. Lock boxes, trigger locks, and cable locks are widely available and easy to use. The Wichita Police Department aims to make this even easier for our community by providing free gun locks to residents, no questions asked. Wichita residents can visit their local police stations to pick up a free gun lock while supplies last. You will not be asked to show ID, and the hours are 8 to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. Many express concern about not being able to access their firearm quickly for self-defense. I understand the importance of quick access in an emergency. A good solution could be to use quick access safes that allow you to securely store your firearms while still being able to retrieve them quickly when needed. Many of these safes utilize biometric fingerprint scanners, keypads, or RFID technology for fast entry. Every family deserves to feel safe in their home, but safety is more than just a feeling. It requires action. It means making the right choices, taking the proper precautions, and ensuring that firearms in our homes are secured at all times. I urge every gun owner in Wichita to store firearms properly. Take advantage of the resources available to you, and let's work together to protect our children, our families, and our community. Next, I'm going to ask Dr. Malik to speak. He is from Wesley Children's Hospital. I am sorry, doctor.
That's okay. Thank you. Thanks, Chief Sullivan. Good afternoon. I am Dr. Kim Malik. I am the Pediatric Trauma Medical Director at Wesley Children's Hospital. I appreciate your time this afternoon to discuss this increasing crisis in our community, pediatric gun violence. Over the past several years, we've all noticed increasing gun violence in our community, but in the first quarter of this year, it has been particularly worse. At the Children's Hospital, we are up to 6 significant and serious penetrating gun injuries at our facility and 2 deaths. The deaths have been in little children, a 1-year-old and a 7-year-old. These children were injured in their home in the middle of the night where they should have been the most safe. One of the children actually had previously also been the victim of a gun injury. At Wesley Children's Hospital, gun violence is now creates is creating up to 10% of the children that we see in our trauma bay and is the 4th cause of admission to trauma at our facility. Nationally, Gun violence is the #1 killer of children under the age of 17. But here today, we are really wanting to discuss the crisis of children-on-children gun violence. We underestimate how strong, crafty, and willful small children are. If there is a weapon available and at their ability to find it, they will find it and use it with devastating consequences, as our community is witnessing. There is not only the physical consequences to the victim, but there is emotional consequences to both families and our community, and the emotional consequences to the child who is able to access that gun. We encourage folks who have weapons in their home to follow the national guidelines that recommend storing our weapons either locked in gun safes or with a gun lock, and unloaded with the ammunition stored separately. Gun violence in pediatrics is entirely preventable. Thank you for your time this afternoon, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Doctor, we're going to ask the Sheriff's Department to speak a few words before you take questions.
Absolutely, sir.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here today. I'm Colonel Keith Allen with the Sheriff's Office, and I'm here on behalf of Sheriff Jeff Easter, who unfortunately cannot attend today. However, he and the Sheriff's Office remain committed to this initiative, and we want to emphasize just how critical this issue is to the safety of our community, especially our children. I'd like to thank Chief Sullivan, Dr. Mullock, and our partners at Wesley Children's Hospital for their leadership in addressing this urgent matter. When law enforcement, medical professionals, and the community come together, we can make a real impact in preventing these tragic incidents. Responsible gun ownership starts with safe storage. The recent incidents involving young children gaining access to unsecured firearms are devastating reminders of how quickly lives can be changed forever. No family should have to endure that pain. These tragedies are preventable, and that's why we're here today. One of the simplest and most effective ways to prevent unauthorized access to firearms is by using a gun lock. That's why the Wichita Police Department and the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office are making them available for free. No questions asked. You can pick one up at the Sheriff's Office, at our local police stations, or even ask a deputy on patrol. If you own a firearm and don't have access to a gun lock, there's no reason not to get one. We all have a role to play in keeping our children safe. If you're a gun owner, take that extra step to ensure your firearm is securely stored. If you know someone with a gun in their home, have a conversation with them about safety. And if you need help, we are here to provide resources. Sheriff Easter and the entire Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office remain committed to this cause, and we will continue working to make sure every gun owner in our community has the tools they need to store their firearms safely. Again, I want to thank everyone for coming today and spreading the word about this vital issue. The safety of our children depends on all of us doing our part. Please, if you need a free gun lock, don't hesitate to get one. Thank you. Thank you, Doc.
Chief, you mentioned 2 incidents recently. The 7-year-old that the doctor mentioned, was that Davion Gunter?
Was that what?
Was that Davion Gunter's death? That's never been confirmed. He was shot by another child.
Well, that's an active case, so we're not going to talk about the specifics of an ongoing prosecution. But in both instances, a gun was left accessible to small children, and the result was a tragedy. And that's what we're here today to discuss and implore gun owners to please keep that in mind, that when there's children in the home, that guns are not accessible to them.
Chief, you talked about the gun safes and the gun locks being available. Is this like a new initiative, and if so, how many gun safes and gun locks have you all given out so far?
Well, I don't think we've given out any so far, and that's why we're so appreciative that all of you are here today, so we can get the word out that the department, the Sheriff's Department, and Wesley Hospital would love to provide people with those. And again, there's other options that people might prefer. But for those people that don't have the means for a more advanced options to gun safety, we want to make sure that we can provide them with gun options that do work, and that they work quite well. You just have to take the time to utilize them. Anything for the doctor?
Yeah, Doctor, when you're dealing with gunshot wounds in children, is that have a higher risk of death because they're so small?
Well, at the Children's Hospital, we are all trained to deal with children who are critically injured. So that has to be taken into account, that everybody at the Children's Hospital takes great care to know how to take care of critically injured children. Not particularly. Bullets injure everybody as awfully, whether you're small or large. There are some factors to take into consideration. Some physiology does play into account, but bullets are bullets, and they wound everybody as awfully, no matter what your size is. One child had sustained a gunshot wound to the head, and those are equally lethal regardless of your size. So
Well, since you're both up there, and this is kind of for both of you, from your perspectives and your different jobs, what do you see as the reason behind the sudden increase that we're seeing here in the area?
Well, I think it's just that. I mean, we have illegal gun ownership, but we have guns that are not being stored. And nationwide, as the doctor expressed so eloquently, we are seeing an increase in gun violence being perpetrated by juveniles and being perpetrated against juveniles. And when the #1 cause of death for juveniles in America is gun violence, that's a sad statistic, and one that we need to begin to, as a country, to begin to take a stance and to work on. And it begins with safe gun ownership. I'm a gun owner, but I feel very strongly about securing my weapons when they're not on my possession. Doctor?
last year we had 22 pediatric gun injuries. This year we've had 6 so far. So on this trajectory, we will exceed last year's numbers. It's our 4th most common injury pattern.
This one was also for both of you guys, but is this just one aspect of the plan, or do you think that this measure in and of itself would be enough on its own?
Certainly, this gesture alone is not going to be enough, and we will look forward to doing education in schools, but we also need to do education in the community, and we hope that we'll have community partners to help us with that, because just like with violence interruption, we also need credible messengers within the community, especially within the community of gun owners like myself, who feel very strongly that it's not a violation of anyone's right to own a gun. We're just asking you to keep it secure from children that could harm themselves. So I think this is just really a start.
You mentioned that this stems from illegal gun ownership too?
Well, I mean, I'm not talking about any particular incidents, but in general, the increase in violence, the upward trend that we're seeing nationally, certainly illegal gun ownership is part of that. Many of those guns are stolen. And again, that's why it's important that people secure their firearms and not leave them in cars or where they are readily accessible, where they can be stolen, because those guns end up on the street. We know that the increase of juveniles in possession of firearms, they aren't walking into gun stores and buying them. They're buying them in illicit markets. So again, it all begins with responsible gun ownership.
We also know that at the same time as we're seeing this increase, and you're talking about illegal ownership, but we also know that at the same time we're seeing this increase in the number of states with constitutional carry. Does that play a role as well, that more people simply have guns out there?
Well, I don't. Again, the issue is there could be more guns out there as long as they're being responsibly possessed on people's persons and secured when they're not being utilized. So I don't really have any data that I can from which I can extrapolate an opinion on that.
From my perspective, I think people continually underestimate how crafty and smart small children are. You know, we have 1 million public service messages a day about laundry pods and medication storage so that children can't access medications and children can't access laundry materials and get injured from that. We need the same sort of awareness that small children can access a gun and use it very quickly and very skillfully. They play video games all the time. They definitely think a gun is no different than a video game. I work with children all the time. They absolutely think it's the same thing. They don't realize it's real life and there are consequences to it.
Hey, Chief, you mentioned going to schools for training. What kind of training are you thinking of? I know there have been a lot of studies that just say no type training, don't touch type training. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more on that. So, but we still do training. Both the police department and the sheriff's department are very active in training about the use of drugs and fentanyl and not accepting any type of pills that are not prescribed by a doctor. So that's the type of training that we would be looking forward to. I don't know what effect that's going to have, but what I do know is that we have to try something. We just cannot do nothing. And between both departments, we have some very dedicated officers and deputies that work very closely with USD 259 and any of the private schools that invite us. And all we can do right now is to do our best until we have some type of evidence-based training program for gun safety. Did you want to add anything, Colonel?
No.
Okay.
You mentioned that gun locks are available while supplies last. What do supply look like for that?
We have several hundred right now.
Is there a hope to increase them if the community is responsive?
I am hoping that I will have the need to come to the community and ask for donations of additional gun locks. I'm praying that that's what will happen. Unfortunately, I'm a little less than optimistic, but we're going to do our best, and that's why there's no ID required. You come in, you ask for a gun lock, we'll provide you one, and as the Colonel said, so will the Sheriff's Department. We're not going to ask you to why you want a gun lock. We're just happy that you're coming in and asking us for one. So.
Thank you.
I'll do it 14 times. Yes. These come with, if you buy a Glock, these come with your gun. But a lot of people will get them and they stay in the package just like any other item. Like no one even thinks about it or they use them for other things like bike locks and things like that. So what I'll demonstrate because it's very easy to do, but for safety you see that kind of is not loaded, correct? Good. All right. So when you get the firearm, it would have a magazine. That you would remove the magazine and obviously make sure that there's no round chamber. So the gun is considered safe. Now storing the gun, just like it is, without ammunition near in separate places, this is nothing but a paperweight. It's literally I guess you could hit someone with it, but it's not going to fire anything because there's no projectile to come out of it. But just to make sure, to ensure that it can't even have a projectile put into it or any type of bullet whatsoever, you take out and this is just the cable example. Wichita Police Department also has a trigger
lock, but we don't have that available right now, but they're still available at all of the substations. So pretty easy. Take out the, or you have the key, and then you just slide the cable through, and then lock it. And then you can see the gun is completely, you can't kick it, it's through, you can't fit a magazine into it, a round cannot be chambered, so it is completely safe. So it's even more of a paperweight gun. So that's what we encourage, and it's that easy. Then you take the key, of course, and you can store it elsewhere, but that's the easiest way to do it in the simplest way. Of course, gun safety is more expensive, but depends on what your preference is. But that's the way that you get the basic paperwork.
Thanks, guys. You just set it on the table for a
Yep.
second.